Welcome to Ring Talk, the weekly Goodwin boxing show. Myself, Martin Theobald, and Steve Goodwin. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, my friend. How's everything your end?
I'm very well. I'm very well.
You missed
Yeah,
the short show of the year on Saturday, lasted about 2 hours, 20 minutes.
that is short. And for one of your, I remember the golden old days of like 15 fights at your call. Turn up at like 11 in the morning, leave the next day.
Not allowed to do that anymore.
Nah, they're missing out.
Exactly. Exactly. And then we have, so when you can only do so many fights, and if they all go wrong on you, you end up with a few. And what we won't do, a lot of other promoters, what they do, they'll stack the shows really, really high. And then if they get to fight week and they've got 13 fights, they just get rid of three people and last minute they don't let them box. We won't do that because we don't think that's morally right. So we go with the right number of fights. Unfortunately, sometimes if fights pull out, we are left short, but we still stage. So whilst we do what's morally right and we do what's right for people, we don't do really what's financially right for us, but we have to do the right thing and we'll always be like that. So
Yeah.
we stage a show that loses a pile of money. That's what happens, and that's what we do. That's what we did on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think people probably assume that you might run some and lose a pile of money and then run some and money, but it doesn't really, does it? It's sort of, I've said to you before, and we were just chatting actually prior to this. I'm sure if you worked out what your hourly salary was for doing boxing, you'd stop doing boxing.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go to the government and say I'm not being paid minimum wage,
Yeah,
probably.
this Goodwin boxing lot aren't paying me.
Enough money, minimum being paid below the bat. Yeah, I mean, you don't do it for that. But what I'm not going to do is to try and make some extra money. I'm not going to shit on people and do things like pull fighters off who have sold tickets and trained for 6 weeks. We're just not going to do that. And
Yeah,
others can if they want, and if they're happy to do it, and people want to go back, then that's up to them. But from our point of view, that's not our mantra at all.
but there's a reason you've been around for 14 years in the sport, and there's a reason that people come back, even if they're not your fighters, and work with you. There's one this weekend, Stevi Levy, who
Yeah,
she's on your card and managed by Dave Allen. I know Dave sort of had fighters on your shows before. They're
yeah,
not from the area, but they know they trust you and that it
yeah,
works. So
yeah,
that
exactly.
reputation is built on not dicking fighters around.
Exactly. So we do our best. We do our best.
Yeah. So let's cover the shortest show from Saturday night. So it's a fight series 30. I'm going to start with, and I actually don't know the results to any of these because I didn't make it down there and they're not up on BoxRec yet. So I'm going to learn as I go along. So Qasim Kayani against Charlie Sheldon.
That was a 4 round win for Kazim. He won every round. Charlie Sheldon done us a big favour, and Graham Evans, his manager, stepped in really the day before Kazim's opponent pulled out, and we were in desperate need, and he came and saved us because we'd been down to 5 fights. So, yeah, Kazim's very talented. He's been out for a year and a bit. Nice performance, plenty of skill set, and he'll be back out in 2025. So, job was done. It was it. Was his second fight. Fighters when they're doing that, they're developing, and you know, he done all you could ask for in his second fight. That's all I can say. I think we'll see a lot better next year when he's more active and doesn't have a 14-month break between fight one and fight two.
Yeah, and well done to Charlie Sheldon and for sort of stepping in and saving it.
Exactly that.
I always have mixed feelings about the journeyman role. I appreciate there's a place for them in the sport, and I always sort of I question some of it. Which I won't go into the detail on here because it maybe doesn't benefit the sport for me to do so, but I do question it sometimes, but I get fighters have to learn and I get that they develop and journeymen come in different styles and different shapes and it helps fighters develop along the way. But what you can never question is how important they are to hold cards together at times. And yeah, they are a glue in that sense for the sport. That
For sure.
as much I do have my questions around it and queries, yeah, it's required still. Taiwo Mosuro, he's had a little clip that's gone quite mainstream.
You
He
know
actually,
that was not boxer v journeyman. That was boxer against somebody who came to take his head off. Taiwo was caught many times. It was an absolute war. And Taiwo hurt the opponent at the end of the third. And in the fourth, he hit him with an unbelievable left hook. But that kid he fought, right, when he gets his 28 days, he'll give a lot of UK fighters a lot of problems. He's really decent. But I mean, it was just an amazing stoppage. And it's all on it's all over on the Goodwin Boxing Instagram page. So if you haven't seen it, go and watch it.
Yeah, it was a great shot that finished it. Going to be hard, isn't it, to match Taiwo? He's 4-0 now, 3 knockouts. People aren't going to be queuing up to fight him, are they?
Not going to be easy. That's why he's taking on the good ones. The kid he was fighting was 5-2, and he'd beaten a couple of good people. So, Taiwo's happy to go in and prove himself against those that have got decent records. So he's not just about fighting the journeyman. He's happy to fight anybody that comes his way on the build up, because he's got to learn, but he's got to fight. But he had a proper fight. It wasn't no warm up. It was a proper war he had. He'll learn a lot from that. And the one thing about that, he'll learn more than he would do fighting 3 actual journeymen doing a fight like that. So good on him.
Yep. Louis Haynes, Fonz Alexander.
I mean, again, he done really well. He outboxed Fonz and looked really good, very slick. Probably more of a boxer than a power puncher, I think it'd be fair to say. But really, really talented, really accurate, good training team, Archie Dublin, Terry Coulter in the corner. I mean, Louis is going to be going on to title shots, I'd say 12 months' time, probably 12, 15 months. Really talented lad, and we'll guide him the right way. And hopefully when he gets there, he'll be able to win titles. But, it's hard to show power when you're fighting the typical Fonz Alexander of this world. I do know Giorgio Asala stopped Fonz, and that was an amazing performance. But, I mean, Louis was really good. He looked impressive, but he's learning his trade. As we said at the start with Qasim as well.
Yep. Ellis Stewart against Jensen Irving.
Yeah, Jensen Irving stepped in on, this is what a nightmare we had last week, stepped in on Thursday night to save us. Thank you very much to Kyle and Mike Nielsen, who managed Jensen Irving, for coming and helping and saving us. Once again, it's nice when other people who are promoting and doing their own stuff help each other, because a lot of people think that everybody's at loggerheads with each other. They're not. I mean, we're doing shows, but I'd do the same. We all try and help each other if it's to save a fight on a show, if we can. If we got a fighter, the good guys all try and help each other out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I forgot to say, actually, at the Boxing Awards, chatting last week, I bumped into Mark Nielsen, who was there, but sort of only very briefly sort of shook hands, said hello. And I'll be honest, I didn't think he'd know who I was as well, was the other thing. So... but sort of very, very briefly said hello. And he just, when somebody comes over like a nice person, that's what Mark comes over as. It was only the briefest of exchanges, but came over as a real nice bloke. But by the by, how did Ellis get on?
Yeah, he won 59, 55. I didn't see where he lost the round. I must have been snoozing because I thought he won every round clearly. Crisp shots. What's interesting, though, he was originally going to box at middleweight title weight the day before weigh-in. But he's decided now he wants to go up to super middleweight. He said he's filling in too much into his frame and he'll never make middleweight championship level. So we were going to sort of go towards titles straight after that fight, but we've now decided that we need to give his body time to develop into the super middleweight weight. So we'll have a fight. We're going to come back out on the next Boxmania card on the 15th of March, and he's going to do a 6-rounder at super middle.
Next Boxmania one's in December, Steve.
Yeah, or the next one, or the first one for 25, yeah.
Yeah, all right. That's interesting because he's only young, isn't he, Ellis? So, as you say, filling out, growing. Was he 25?
Yeah.
Which to me is young. So, yeah, still sort of developing his man strength.
But he's 10-0 now, but, he didn't have that many amateurs, but he's developing nicely and improving all the time. But now we've got, when you're going to step up a weight category, we've got to give him time to fill into that weight and get used to it. And it's not a case now we'll hold back the title things for a little bit.
Yeah. Jiyan Oguz against Mark Butler.
Jiyan was very impressive. He stopped Mark Butler. I think it was round 2. An absolute peach of a shot. Really, really impressive. And he, as I said before, he lost a real surprising fight to a chap called Kane Singh, which he just wasn't right that night. but he is really coming back with a bang, and I'm really excited about Jiyan. I think we can be winning titles with him as early as next year. I think he's that. I think he's that. I think he can be that good.
Only good fighters will stop Mark Butler.
And he didn't. And Mark, he didn't just stop him. He really, really stopped him, and he wasn't on his feet. He was, he was stopped. And
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
Mark's a terrific fighter and a terrific journeyman. And I think I said to Mark afterwards because he wasn't sure. He said he wasn't sure whether to really go and try or to try and cover up for next week. And I think he got taught. He himself didn't approach the fight correctly. And I was speaking to him afterwards. And I just said to him, when you go out to box, you got to mentally prepare correctly for the fight as well. But that doesn't take away from Jiyan, by the way. Jiyan was sensational.
Yeah, yeah. Mark's record belies what a fighter he is. Balraj Khara against the Camden caretaker, Robbie Chapman.
Now, Balraj coming off a long break when he got stopped for Southern Area like heavyweight title. He's now dropped down to super middleweight. Be fair, he boxed really nicely behind the jab. Ran out a ready winner. And, we're not going to go. We're going to go again, have another fight in March over at super middleweight. We're going to build him up towards a title shot because, he's a decent fighter, was Balraj, good amateur. But he needed, after suffering that big fight against Taiwo Mosuro, against Timur Duglin, he needs to be built back with confidence because when you've suffered that, you've got to build it back properly. So we're good at doing that. We've done it in the past, and we'll build him.
Nice. Right, that rounds up Saturday night. This forthcoming Saturday, you got a show, but we're also going to touch on the show on DAZN, the Matchroom show, which is headlined by Sonny Edwards against Galal Yafai. Thoughts?
No, thanks.
Best thing
Not
about
disrespecting. Look, Charlie, it'll be a good technical fight. I hope it's exciting for people to watch. I hope it is, but I won't be watching it anyway because I'll be at your call. But it's not a fight that would have me. What I like is a fight where I see a fight on a Saturday night, and if I was at home, I'd be saying to my wife, "We're not going out for a meal tonight. We're not going to do this. We're not going around friends for dinner. I'm staying home to watch the boxing." And this wouldn't be one of those occasions. I'd be quite happy to go out for a meal. That's how I gauge whether I like a fight, and it wouldn't be for me. I'd be more interested in the Kieran Conway Ryan Kelly fight, to be honest, on the undercard. But that fight doesn't float my juices. So I know for some boxing purists, they'll love it, and I hope it's a good fight for them. But that's really it. What's your view?
I've got no interest. I've got to be honest. I'm the most casual boxing fan out there these days, I reckon. But the small men, I'm not being horrible about it. It doesn't float my boat. I watch boxing because I want to see people doing stuff that excites me. And part of that excitement comes from the actual risk that someone's about to get knocked out at any point in a fight. And I don't have that with a Sonny Edwards fight. I get that it's technically exceptional, but I don't need 12 rounds of technical exceptional work. I need some element of risk. And I don't ever see that out of a Sonny Edwards fight. So yeah, it's I'm not really watching enough of Yafai, if I'm perfectly honest.
Well, listen, hopefully it's a good fight for those watching it. All I'm saying, and I'm being honest, it's not a fight that would make me stay in particularly.
No, agree.
It's like somebody having, and I think I said it the other week, so I'm not being said. It's like saying Caroline Dubois topping the bill. Again, I'd be saying, let's go out tonight. I wouldn't be staying in to watch it.
I think I'm in Saturday night, and I probably still won't watch it. It doesn't do anything for me. Callum Smith returns on the undercard against someone that they've announced today, just to sort of come back.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised Callum Smith's coming back. I sort of thought, how Billy Joe Saunders fought Canelo and then that was it. Sort of, he keeps threatening to come back, but it doesn't seem to be any great appetite to do so. Callum Smith fighting Beterbiev. He was outclassed in that, which has no shame in being outclassed by Beterbiev because we've seen how good he is and we've seen that over a number of years. It almost feels like, what is there left for Callum Smith to do? he's not young. It doesn't seem like he's going to ascend that mountain at light heavyweight. I don't know what there is. Like, what do you do with him?
Well, he must have a plan. I mean, look, he's a super talented fighter. He must have a plan. He doesn't want to give up. I don't think he should give up if he wants to carry on and have another go, because I lost to Beterbiev, but doesn't. But a lot of fighters that suffered what he suffered would retire. You know, you get like the Billy Joe Saunders. There's a lot of fighters even at our level. They lose in a big fight, get knocked out or get stopped. They they don't come back, but threaten it about 3 times, 4 times. I could list you loads of them, but I'm not going to, obviously. And it's the same at that level. Billy Joe Saunders is that one. But from Callum Smith, good luck to him. Well, in my view, is good luck to him if he wants to come back. He can find his level. Same as Billum Smith, if he wants to come back, find the level that you're at and have a go if you still feel you've got the motivation. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm just slightly bemused because he's fighting some unknown bloke, and I think
he
they're going
would
to
do, wouldn't he? He would do on his comeback.
Yeah, I don't know. Like again, if he were 25, yes, but he's not. He's sort of on the older end of the boxing scale.
Yeah, but one back. You've got to have one back after that fight. You got to give him one back.
He'd have harder spars than the fight he's going to have on Saturday night.
But
I'm
he
not
wants to go out. He wants to go under the lights and have one back. I've
not
got
having it.
I've got no problem with
Nah, do it in the gym. Don't care.
that.
Like it's not on people to pay to see him start his warm up again. But there we go.
But
And then
the fight I like is Kieran Conway, Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly
yeah,
gave Brad Paul's nightmares at the O2 Indigo.
he did.
He's tough. He's proper tough. And Kieran Conway, obviously, that prize fight. People, it's all funny about boxing. Things sort of disappear off the radar. Nobody talks about it. But you had this prize fighter tournament over in Japan that sort of did. They all won their quarterfinals, and then nobody's fighting semifinals, and nobody talks about it. It's just bizarre. The competition stops, and now all of a sudden nobody talks about it, and they will just carry on irrelevant to it. It's bizarre.
But it's the second time it happened as well because they announced the first one, then nothing ever happened. And then they did the second one. As you say, the first fights took place. I think about 7 people turned up in some venue in Japan to watch Aaron McKenna and Kieran Conway fighting some Japanese. I guess, was there an assumption maybe the Japanese fighters might win and then it has the home interest? But as soon as they don't, why would the Japanese sponsors be backing something that has no interest at their end? It's a very odd one. But as you say, no one's held accountable for it, or certainly the questions don't get asked about what's going on. Because Frank Smith,
I wouldn't say them publicly, but I've got I'd have a few questions about why that's cancelled and a few observations. But there we go. Best left unsaid.
but it is a good fight though this Saturday night.
Yeah, I think it's a really good fight. And Kieran Conway was due to fight Brad Pauls for the British. There's a bit of thing behind it. He stepped aside to let Brad fight Denzel Bentley. He gets the winner if the winner wants to defend against him, or he gets a crack at the British. And he now gets the fight against Kieran Conway. So, sorry, against Ryan Kelly. And he's like, it's probably 70-30 in Kieran Conway's favour, to be honest. It's probably a 3-4 to 1 on chance to win. That's fair enough, but it's still an interesting fight.
Yeah. And speaking of Brad Pauls and Denzel Bentley, I see they've been moved up within the WBO rankings now to, is it number 1 and number 2 or number 2 and number 3?
2 and 3, I think. Brad's 4 in the WBA, and I think he's also in the top 10 in the IBF and the WBC now or something. So they're right up there. So the winner's going to be pretty much in line for the opportunity of a world title shot. So yeah, it's obviously being notioned in, really lined up for them, isn't it? I mean, my gut feeling is they're going to be. I would imagine Frank Warren's lining up for the winner to fight Shiraz.
Do you think?
I don't know that. I don't know. They've not discussed it. It's none of my business. We got to fight to concentrate on with Denzel Bentley. But I could see that they may want to be. That might be what they're up to.
So it sounds like Shiraz has got Carlos Adames for the WBC. Janibek being the WBO.
I'm not sure. I think Brad wins, but say Bentley won. Are they going to do Bentley Janibek? I doubt it. If Brad wins, then they might do Brad against Janabek. I can't see them doing Bentley Janabek too, but I don't think they're going to happen anyway because I think Brad's going to win. But then the situation is, will they just do a WBC defense, or will they think Brad can go and beat Janabek and then set up a unification? Quite interesting. Very interesting.
A lot of moving parts. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Right, let's come on to your show. Fight Series 31, Saturday night at York Hall. Let's start off with, can people get tickets and where and when? I've just told you where. But when does it start? Saturday?
It starts at 6. You've got 9 bouts on the card, featuring some very exciting talent this week. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to Saturday. It's really, really interesting. Some really good fighters on there. Again, these fight shows are development are mainly it's where a lot of the development shows or the fighters getting close to title fights feature. That's what this show's about.
Yeah. All right. So let's run through it. So we've got Kutaiba Jiminez against Kane Morgan.
Yeah. So neither of my fighters. This is a John Peck fighter, Jiminez, who has asked to come on the show, and we put him on. Don't know much about him. Kane Morgan is a Sablio fighter. He's had 2 fights, 1 draw, 1 loss. He's not in journeyman mode. So it'll actually be a really good fight, that. It's first on at 6. And I think it'll actually be a cracking fight, a cracking fight.
Right, turn up, find out more about Kane.
That's not Morgan. A journeyman. That's not journeyman against prospect. That's 2 fighters trying to win.
Awesome. Right, Kevin Morgan makes his debut against Ryan LeBourne.
Yeah, Kevin Morgan, really excited to see him. A really, really exciting cruiserweight prospect. I can't wait to see him on Saturday because I've got high hopes for him. He's fighting Ryan LeBourne, who's a real tough man from up north. He's coming down to do it, but this is all about Kevin Morgan and seeing what we've got and what we can do going forward. But really excited. If you're coming to your call, he's on 2nd, so don't turn up late on Saturday. Make sure you're there for the first 2 fights. Awesome.
Right, Shaun Simpson taking on our friend Robbie Chapman.
Robbie's back. He's doing his role. He performs he fights as many weeks as he can. Shaun's really talented. Started professional boxing late. Was very impressed with him in his first fight, and now he's got Robbie in number 2. But it's a development fight. We know what that is. It's Shaun's on 8 out of the 9. Brings a good crowd. Comes from a similar area as Stevi Levy, so they're basically back to back together at the end of the show. And he's a real nice guy, really talented, and I'm looking forward to seeing him develop from his first fight.
All right. Alfie Shrubb taking on, again, friend of York Hall, Fonz Alexander.
Fonz is back.
Might as well live there.
Yeah. Alfie's trained by Chris Davis, the pro boxer who's fighting one of our guys the week after for the Southern Area title. Alfie's developing. He's going to need a bit of time. And I've always said, he's not somebody I think is going to be, we're going to have to take him slowly but surely and build him towards titles. But it'll take a little bit of time because he's got all the talent, but you can see he's going to need to build. And it's my job to identify at what point we press buttons. But a lot can change in a few fights. But for those of you coming, a very good boxer, very slick, really decent. But he's improving from fight 1 to 2, and I expect to see him improve again on Saturday.
Someone who's been improving quite a lot of late, Amar Kayani against Connor Meanwell.
Yeah, no, Amar's he's not with us. He's not managed by us. He has been. Amar was with us for 3 years. The first 3 years of his career were with us, and we guided him to an undefeated record. He left us, and he suffered a loss after he left us. He's not with us now, but I'm delighted. I never felt it because he left us after 3 years and made that decision. I didn't fall out with him. I've got no problems with him whatsoever. And he asked to come back on our show, and he's more than welcome. We manage his brother Qasim, so still looking after the family. So happy to have him back on.
Yeah, he's a nice bloke as well, Amar.
Really, really nice guy. Really nice guy.
Yeah. Zoe Hunte-Smith taking on Claire Watts.
Yeah, so
female action.
Zoe's with Alec Wilkie. They're trying to build Zoe towards getting a title shot. I know Alec is. And she's a nice girl, but it's very hard for people in that weight category as a female to, it's not easy for Alec to manage and develop. It's a tough ask. Again, we always help Alec whenever we can. He's one of boxing's good guys. We're always here to help him. And Zoe's on Saturday, so we'll see how she gets on. Claire's only had one fight, and so she's still going to be trying to win and adventurous. So I'm quite interested in watching that fight.
Awesome. Ergal Elejaz against Alvaro Torrero.
Again, not one of our fighters, managed by Xavier Miller, who's also the trainer. I'm looking forward to him. Xavier rates him, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing him. He's only had one fight. And once again, I'm looking forward to seeing this fighter in action because I don't know anything about him, but Xavier highly regards him, and Xavier's a good judge. So let's go and see what he's got.
All right. A man who, if you're going down there, make sure you go and see him. He's a class act in and out of the ring. Mikey Sakyi taking on Santiago Garcia.
Mikey is, I've got a couple of plans for him, but Mikey, he was English champion, and he's been right up there. He's won, since he's come to us, he's become English champion. And do you know what? I'm going to say this. He sent me a lovely text the other day. We were talking about something by text, and he sent me a text, and he just said, I so wished I'd been with you from the start of my career. And I thought that was really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, I'd say it's a class act in and out.
And so we're building him. But once we get this fight out of the way, I'm going to look at some options. I've got some ideas. Nobody's been knocking for a big fight. He wants a big fight, and nobody's knocking. So we'll have to create one. And I'm looking to do that after this fight for him in the early part of next year.
Excellent. Final one on there then is Stevi Levy against Catherine Quintana.
Again, a lot of these fighters on our show are not my fighters, but we're helping get them out alongside some of ours. She's managed, as she said, by Dave Allen. I've never met her. I've had some communication with her. She seems a really nice girl. She seems very committed to her boxing because she's travelled around the globe trying to get trainers, and she's now settled with Jordan Gillen locally to her. I'm actually looking forward to seeing her box, and she seems a really nice girl. And once again, I don't know that much about her, but I'm looking forward to seeing how she does.
Yeah, I've seen her a couple of times box, and I've sort of seen many interviews with her. She's quite a character. She's sort of a working mum. She's got a little one. And yeah, really sort of, you can see why her and Dave Allen would get along very well as a partnership, sort of manager and fighter, because she's very much like him, sort of heart on the sleeve, talks openly, and is quite amusing. But she can also fight. It's not to take anything away from her ability to fight. So you've been for a treat on Saturday night if you get to watch that.
So literally, I think it's quite a card full of things. Like you got Mikey Sakyi, former English champion, fought on a WBC international level. You got some supreme talents being on show, and you got a couple of female prospects who could both be fighting for titles next year. So what's not to like about it on Saturday?
Yeah, excellent. So get down to York Hall. Tickets available. Tickets on the door?
Yeah, there will be.
Brilliant. So people, get down there Saturday night, York Hall. And that's it for the boxing world for the week, Steve. We're back next week?
Yeah, we're back next week. We'll talk about Boxmania. We'll preview the other show. We'll preview the Warren show on the 7th because we've got 3 fighters on that show now on the Frank Warren show at Wembley. We'll talk about that next week. We can probably talk about, by the time we get to next week, I've got another fighter in a big fight in January, and I'm hoping to be able to talk about that next week. Big TV fight. So there's lots going on. So there's lots to talk about. The Goodwin boxers are now, some of them are making moves into the big arena, and hopefully they're good enough to deliver.
Yeah, and again, we say it many times, but these fight series cards are all about sort of growing that next level of talent, that next generation of talent. And at some point, it comes to those that sort of rise above the others, move on to, say, the Boxmania series, and then those ones that rise above others within that get picked up for TV slots and the opportunity. So it's sort of harvesting those talents over time. So all these things have a place within like the ecosystem of boxing. So these shows that you're seeing on sort of Saturday night, some of the talent on there, in 2 years' time will be the talents that are moving further forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. So get down, enjoy it, watch it. And yeah, have a great night. But yeah, we'll catch up next week, Steve.
Thanks, mate.
Arsenal would have lost in Europe, and we can discuss that as well.
Just because you beat Manchester City, had a freak result, as I said to my brother-in-law, you still lost to Ipswich at home.
Didn't beat Manchester City. We waltzed past Manchester City.
Just like Ipswich waltzed past you.
at the at the
Listen, you got 3 points out of 2 games. One was home to Ipswich, one was away to Man City, and you got 3 points. That is what any team would be expected to achieve. You've achieved nothing more than is expected. You just did it in the wrong order, but you don't get any points for losing that and winning that. Sorry.
That's fine. We're 1 point behind you in the league. You're having a great season, apparently, and we're having
Our season started on Saturday because
Did it?
that
You
was the
beat
first time we had our
Hold on.
proper forward line in place. Now you'll see Arsenal now tomorrow night beat West Ham Saturday, who beat Newcastle tonight, I think. But now you'll start to see the golfing class.
Yeah, and I look forward to you lot going to the Etihad, getting turned over where we won 4-0. But yeah,
Can't happen. We drew 2-2 with them with 10 men.
yeah, you parked the bus, didn't you? Disgusting.